If you'd asked me 2 years ago what the worst thing about my job was, I would have said the deadlines, or the last minute client tantrums, or the fact that the coffee machine hissed like it hated everyone. But now I'd say the worst thing is remembering the exact moment I fell for my boss. Because once you remember the first spark, every moment after that feels like a slow motion explosion. My name's Evan Brooks, 28, junior strategist at a Manhattan agency that thinks free LaCroix and ping pong tables count as benefits. Whatever. It pays rent. Barely. My boss is Lena Hartley, 39. Sharp, composed, beautiful in that intimidating don't mess with me way. The kind of woman who always looks like she just walked out of a leadership summit. People say she's unshakable, cold even, but they've never heard her laugh quietly at something she's not supposed to find funny, or seen her eyes soften when she thinks no one's watching. I used to think she was flawless. Turns out she was lonely in ways I didn't understand yet. The day everything changed wasn't dramatic. No lightning bolts or spilled coffee cliches. It was just a boring Tuesday. I'd overslept, subway delayed, laptop dying, life generally kicking me in the ass. By the time I sprinted into the office, chest heaving, shirt wrinkled, I caught sight of her standing in the hallway, arms crossed, eyebrow raised, that "we're not doing this today" expression on her face. "Brooks," she said, voice low, "my office, now." And that was the moment. Not love, not attraction, a shift, like gravity changed, pulling me somewhere I didn't intend to go. I walked into her office with the same feeling you get walking into a courtroom, except the judge smells like jasmine and espresso. She shut the door softly, too softly. Soft from her was worse than angry. "Your deck from yesterday," she said, tapping her tablet. "Walk me through the logic of your strategy." I opened my mouth, fully ready to BS my way through. But she stepped closer. Not aggressively, just close enough for my pulse to jump like it was late for work too. When she leaned past me to grab a binder from the shelf, her sleeve brushed my arm. Light, warm, electric. A stupid, insignificant touch, but I felt it in my spine. She froze too, for half a second, the tiniest crack in her armor. Then she straightened, cleared her throat, and returned to her boss voice. "This section needs rethinking," she said. "We're presenting to the Boston client this weekend. I need you with me. No excuses." And I swear she looked at my mouth when she said it. A trick of the light, wishful thinking, sleep deprivation? Didn't matter. It was the first time I saw the possibility that she wasn't just my boss. She was a woman, a human one, lonely, tired, carrying too much and pretending it was fine. And I, idiot that I was, stepped right into that gravity pull. By Friday morning, we were boarding a train to Boston, both acting like nothing weird had happened. But every time she shifted beside me, every time her knee brushed mine because the seats were too damn small, the quiet between us grew louder. We weren't talking about work anymore. We were avoiding everything else. And I knew this trip was going to break something open. If New York is all noised and neon, Boston is crisp air, fall leaves, and overpriced conference badges. We walked into the event center like two professionals with their shit together, except Lena kept smoothing her hair and I kept pretending not to notice her nervous energy. The conference was packed, suits everywhere. The kind of people who say a circle back unironically. Lena excelled as usual, polished, confident, owning the panel like she built the industry herself. But I saw something no one else caught. Her hands trembled slightly whenever she set down her water. Her smile flickered each time she broke eye contact. She was tired, worn out, trying too damn hard. After the final session, she exhaled like she'd been holding her breath for hours. "Good work today," she said as we exited the hall. "Tomorrow's the big pitch." "Want to rehearse?" I asked. She looked at me for a moment too long. "No, I think I want dinner." My stomach flipped. Not exactly professional phrasing. We ended up at a small restaurant near the hotel. Dim lighting, soft jazz, warm bread. The kind of place people go for anniversaries or breakups. Nothing in between. She removed her blazer, rolled up her sleeves, and for the first time since I'd known her, she wasn't in boss mode. She looked human. "Tough week?" I said gently. She laughed, low and tired. "Tough decade." That hit me harder than I expected. "How bad?" I asked. She hesitated, then shrugged. "Bad enough that sometimes going home feels like walking into an empty elevator shaft." Yeah, that wasn't just tired. That was loneliness with sharp edges. I didn't touch her hand, didn't say something stupid. I just nodded. "That sounds heavy," I said quietly. "Sometimes it is." The server brought wine neither of us needed. We drank anyway. And somewhere between the second glass and her soft smile, my brain whispered the worst possible idea. "You're falling for her." We walked back to the hotel in silence. Not awkward, not tense, just loaded. When the front desk clerk announced that the hotel was overbooked and only one room was available, with 2 beds, Lena inhaled sharply. "That's fine," she said quickly, too quickly. But her eyes flicked to mine. And that was the moment the line between us officially blurred. The room was warm and dim. 2 beds neatly made, city lights flickering through the blinds. I set down my suitcase, trying to be cool, calm, normal. My heartbeat had other plans. Lena removed her heels with a relieved groan and sat on the edge of her bed, rubbing her temples. "You okay?" I asked. "Just a migraine," she said softly. "And everything else." I sat on my bed, facing her, close, but not too close. "You can talk to me," I said. She glanced up, and something in her expression cracked open. "You ever feel like you're drowning, but you can't ask for help because everyone thinks you're the lifeguard?" Her voice wasn't strong or sharp. It was a confession. "Every day," I said, quietly. The wind rattled the window. Cars hummed far below. And then she reached out, not dramatically, just a hand on my wrist, light, trembling. "Evan," she whispered. I didn't kiss her. I didn't move. I just let her hand rest there. She closed her eyes. Her shoulders dropped. And for the first time since I met her, Lena looked her age. Not powerful, not perfect. Just a woman who'd been carrying too much alone. "I shouldn't be here," she whispered. "Not like this." "I know," I said, "but you're not alone right now." Her eyes opened, wet, raw. And before either of us could think, she leaned into me and rested her forehead against mine. No kiss, no lines crossed. Just a moment too intimate to ignore. The kind of moment that changes everything. I didn't sleep that night. Not because anything happened, but because something almost happened, and that almost felt louder than anything else in the room. Around 2 a.m., I heard her shift in the other bed. Then again, then again. "Evan?" she whispered into the dark. "Yeah?" I whispered back. A long pause. Then, "Do you Regret coming on this trip? My heart kicked hard against my ribs. Not even for a second. Another pause. Longer. Then the sound of her breathing, softer, steadier. I thought that was the end of it. But minutes later, she said, so quietly I almost missed it, "I feel safe around you." That's when I knew we were screwed. The next morning, we acted professional again, or tried to. She had on her power blazer, hair up, expression smooth like glass. Me, I was just praying I didn't do something stupid like stare at her too long. But every time I handed her notes, every time our fingers got too close, I felt Vast Night humming between us. After the pitch, which went great because she's Lena and she crushes everything, she exhaled deeply. "That's done," she said, finally. "Want to celebrate?" I meant it lightly, casually, but the way she looked at me, tired, hopeful, almost shy, that was not casual. "There's a cafe near the harbor," she said, "not crowded. We could talk." And that's how we ended up walking along the water, Boston breeze lifting her hair, sun glinting off the buildings. This time, she wasn't the one who started the conversation. "I didn't know you were lonely," I said. Her steps slowed. "I didn't know you noticed." "I notice everything," I replied, too honestly. Her breath hitched. She looked away, wiping at something invisible on her sleeve, voice steady but thin. "When I got divorced 4 years ago, I promised myself I wouldn't depend on anyone again. I wouldn't give anyone that door again." I nodded. "Then why me?" She stopped walking. "I don't know," she whispered. "Maybe because you see the parts of me I don't want anyone to see, and I hate that I like it." The words hung there, raw, heavy, heat sparking between us like we were standing too close to a fire we'd both started. I didn't touch her, didn't lean in, but she stepped closer, close enough that if the breeze stopped, our clothes might have brushed. "Evan," she said my name like it hurt. "This is dangerous." "I know." "We could lose everything." "I know." She inhaled sharply, eyes finally meeting mine. "But I haven't felt something real in a long time." Something in my chest snapped. I stepped closer, slowly, giving her every second to pull away. She didn't. Her fingers brushed mine, light at first, then firmer, like she needed the anchor. We didn't kiss, not yet. But that moment, her breath mixing with mine, her vulnerability humming against my skin, felt more intimate than any kiss could have. We walked back in silence, hands brushing every few steps, both pretending not to notice. That night, we slept with a canyon between our beds, but the distance felt like a lie. The moment we stepped back into the office Monday morning, I felt it. Eyes, whispers, curiosity sharp enough to cut paper. People weren't subtle. They never are. Someone in creative whispered to someone in copy. Someone in copy whispered to someone in strategy. By noon, the entire 14th floor knew that Evan and Lena took a weekend trip. By Tuesday, they were adding details we hadn't even lived. By Wednesday, HR sent her a friendly reminder about workplace boundaries. And by Friday, the storm hit. It started with my manager, Graham, pulling me aside. "Listen, Evan," he said, tone trying to be fatherly but landing somewhere between nosy and mildly judgmental. "Whatever's going on with you and Lena, be careful." I choked on my own breath. He held up a hand. "I don't need the details. I'm just telling you, people are talking, and they're not kind." That pissed me off more than I expected. What are they saying? I demanded. Doesn't matter, he said, but his expression said otherwise. Keep your head down, protect yourself. But I wasn't the one in danger. She was. When I stepped out of the office later, I saw her at the end of the hallway talking to our COO. His arms folded, her jaw tight. The conversation looked intense, and not the good kind. She saw me approaching, gave a small shake of her head, the silent "not here." But later that evening, she texted me, "They're watching us. Be careful." A punch to the stomach would have felt gentler. I replied, "Do you want to stop?" Her answer came fast, like she'd been waiting for the question. No. Then, "But I'm scared." I sat in my apartment, staring at those words, feeling something unfamiliar rise in me. Fierce protectiveness. She was older, higher up the ladder, more powerful on paper, but she wasn't built for office politics at this level of personal attack. She was built for work ethic, not war. And the office? It doesn't forgive women for being ambitious. Definitely not for being human. So I made a decision. I would protect her, even if she didn't ask. But the storm wasn't finished. Not even close. The following week, Lena got called into the executive meeting, a closed-door one, no agenda, no invitation to join. I knew that wasn't good. An hour later, she emerged looking like she'd been hollowed out, pale, rigid, eyes red, but not from crying, from holding everything back. She walked past me without a word and locked her office door. 5 minutes later, she texted, "Can you meet me outside? Not here." My throat tightened. I grabbed my jacket and met her 2 blocks away, near a small park no one used. She stood under a tree, coat wrapped tight, eyes wet but angry. "They think I'm compromised," she said bitterly. "What?" "They think I'm distracted, unprofessional. They asked if you and I were—" She stopped, shaking her head. "I told them no, but they don't believe me." My jaw clenched so hard it hurt. "What are they going to do?" She swallowed hard. "They want me to step back from my role, to regain focus, a temporary demotion." Demotion? For feelings she wasn't even allowed to have. I wanted to scream, punch something, punch someone. "I'm so damn tired, Evan," she whispered. "Every time I succeed, someone finds a reason to cut me down." My voice cracked. "Lena." "And the worst part," she said, tears spilling now, "the only person I want to come home to at the end of the day is the one person I'm not supposed to need." She wasn't talking about her job. She wasn't talking about the office. She meant me. The weight of that hit me so hard I forgot to breathe. And then she did something she hadn't done yet. She stepped into me, hands gripping my jacket, forehead against my chest. "I don't care about the job," she whispered into my shirt. "I care about losing you." Something inside me snapped. I wrapped my arms around her, holding her tighter than I'd ever held anyone. "You're not losing me," I whispered. And then, finally, we kissed. Not tentative, not hesitant, like 2 people who'd been drowning and finally broke the surface. Her fingers dug into my hair, my hands cupped her waist. The cold wind whipped around us, but I didn't feel a damn thing. Everything we'd been pretending not to feel crashed into us at once. When she finally pulled back, she was breathless. "This is real," she whispered. "It is," I said, forehead against hers. "Too damn real." And that's the problem. The kiss solved nothing. It only made everything harder, everything sharper, everything dangerous. But for the first time, neither of us wanted to run. If life were fair, Kissing someone you care about would make the world softer, lighter, safer. But life isn't fair, and office politics definitely aren't. The week after Boston felt like someone dimmed all the lights in Lena's world. She came in earlier than usual, left later, talked less, smiled never. Her office door stayed shut most mornings. When she finally opened it, people glanced up the way you do when a thunderstorm passes just close enough to shake your windows. By Wednesday, she looked worn thin. Not physically. Lena had always been elegant, even at her worst. But there was a sharpness to her now, a tremble in her hands when she reached for her coffee, a hesitation before she spoke. Burnout looks different on powerful people. It makes them quieter, not weaker. I tried to check on her without being obvious. We shared short glances in hallways, subtle nods in meetings, tiny acknowledgments hidden from everyone else. But in private, she was slipping. Text from her Wednesday night, 11:41 p.m. I feel like I'm losing control of everything. I replied immediately, You're not. I'm here. Just tell me where. She didn't answer. Thursday afternoon, she didn't show up to the strategy session she was supposed to lead. The COO took over without explanation, brushing off questions like brushing dust off a jacket. An hour later, I saw her in the bathroom hallway, leaning against the wall, breathing hard, like she'd just sprinted. Hey, I whispered, stepping closer. You okay? She jumped slightly, then shook her head. No, she said softly. No, I'm really not. Her voice cracked. Not loud enough for anyone else to hear, just loud enough for me. Lena, I murmured, reaching for her hand. Talk to me. She looked up, and the pain in her eyes nearly knocked me backwards. This place is eating me alive, she whispered, and I don't know how to make it stop. She wasn't dramatic. She wasn't exaggerating. She meant every word. I took a breath. Let's leave, right now. She blinked. We can't. I don't care, I said. You need air. She hesitated one beat too long, then nodded. And we walked out. Not together, because even then we were careful. 5 minutes apart, opposite elevators, meeting around the corner like we were fugitives. We ended up in a quiet cafe on 32nd Street. No crowds, no coworkers. Just two exhausted people hiding from the world. She didn't talk at first. She just sat there with her hands wrapped around her cup, staring at the steam. Do you regret kissing me? She whispered eventually. My heart slammed. No, I said instantly. Do you? She hesitated. A long, slow exhale. I regret, she swallowed, what it's doing to you. I frowned. What do you mean? You're getting pulled into my fallout, she said softly. People are looking at you differently, judging you. I never wanted that. I leaned forward. Lena, you're not some storm I accidentally walked into. I chose this. Her eyes softened, but her mouth twisted with sadness. I don't want to break you, she whispered, and I feel like something here is going to break. I didn't know then how right she was. The email came Monday morning. A harmless-looking subject line. Meeting invitation, HR inquiry, confidential. My stomach dropped so hard I felt dizzy. I clicked it open. My name, a time, a room number, and one line. Please be prepared to discuss recent professional boundaries and conduct. Well, there it was, the moment I'd been dreading. I glanced across the office. Lena's door was shut, but through the fogged glass I saw her silhouette, back turned, shoulders tense, fingers pressed into her temples. She'd gotten the same email. I knew it, and I knew it was killing her. The HR manager, a woman named Diana with a too sweet smile and eyes like a spreadsheet, greeted me with a tone that was entirely fake concern. "Hi, Evan. Thanks for coming. Please have a seat." I sat. She folded her hands on the desk like a lawyer preparing a soft interrogation. "There have been some observations," she began. I almost laughed. "Observations? What were we, wildlife?" She continued, "We've received reports of unusual interactions between you and Director Hartley. Dinners, extended meetings, travel complications, a perceived shift in team dynamics." She was being polite. Too polite. Meaning, people think we're sleeping together. "And to be clear," she added, leaning forward, "we are not making accusations. We simply need clarity." A trap. I felt sweat gather at the back of my neck. "What exactly is the question?" I asked. She smiled like she appreciated my professionalism. "Is there or has there been any personal involvement between you and Miss Hartley that could be considered inappropriate?" I could lie, say no, protect Lena, protect myself. But HR doesn't ask questions it doesn't already suspect the answers to. And the greatest betrayal I could ever commit would be leaving Lena to carry this alone. So I said, "Something personal did develop recently, but it has not affected our professional work." Her pen stopped mid-scratch. "So you're confirming a relationship?" "No," I shook my head. "It's not defined, it's new, but it's not what people think it is either." She scribbled something fast. "Thank you for your honesty," she said. "We'll continue to evaluate." Which means, we'll decide your fate. I walked out with a nut in my stomach. But Lena's face when she stepped out of her meeting an hour later, that broke me. Her eyes were red, chest rising and falling too fast, hands clenched so tightly her knuckles whitened. "Evan," she whispered, "they asked if I coerced you." "What?" I shouted before catching myself. She nodded, trembling. "They're framing it as a power imbalance issue." "But you didn't." "I know, and you know. But they asked if you felt pressured. They asked if I used my authority." Her voice cracked. "Evan, they think I crossed a line. They think I'm unethical." My chest burned. "You didn't do anything wrong," I said fiercely. "We both know that." She looked at me with eyes full of devastation. "But that's not what matters," she whispered. "It's what they believe." And I realized something then. I wasn't the one they'd go after. They'd go after her. They always go after the woman, especially the successful woman, especially the older woman, especially the woman who shows the slightest hint of being human. I made up my mind. I would not let her fall alone, not on my watch. 2 days later, everything cracked. I was working late, finishing a deck Lena had barely been allowed to touch because of oversight concerns. The office was dark, quiet, just the hum of ceiling lights and the distant rumble of the cleaning crew going floor to floor. At 9:47 p.m., my phone buzzed. "Lena." "Are you still at the office?" I replied, "Yeah, you okay?" She didn't answer. Then, 30 seconds later, my office door opened quietly. She stepped inside like a ghost, closing the door behind her. Her makeup was gone, hair loose, eyes tired in a way I'd never seen before. "Lena," I stood up fast. "What's wrong?" She didn't speak. She just walked to my desk, placed both hands flat on the surface, and took a slow breath like it hurt. "They want me to resign," she whispered. My vision blurred. "What?" "They said it's the cleanest solution. Less risk, less liability. She laughed bitterly. Apparently, love and leadership don't mix. That's bullshit, I snapped. I'll talk to them. No, she said sharply. You won't. I froze. Her voice softened. Evan, I'm tired. I'm tired of fighting. Tired of proving myself. Tired of being the villain in stories I didn't even write. She shook her head slowly. I gave this company 9 years of my life. They didn't even hesitate before throwing me to the wolves. My chest cracked open. I walked around the desk to her, slowly, as if she might shatter if I moved too fast. She didn't move when I reached her, didn't pull back, just let me gently touch her shoulders. I'm so sorry, I whispered. Her body trembled. You shouldn't have to be, she whispered back. You didn't do this. But I felt responsible anyway. If you walk away, I said quietly, I'm walking with you. Her breath hitched, raw, vulnerable, heartbreaking. You'd really leave your job? She asked. Yes, I said without hesitation. Why? She whispered, searching my face. Because I don't want a version of my life that doesn't have you in it. Her eyes filled instantly, tears spilling before she could blink them back. She stepped into me, slowly, painfully, and I wrapped my arms around her like the world was ending. Maybe it was. Maybe something had to end so something better could begin. She pressed her forehead into my chest, sobbing quietly, the kind of sound no one should ever have to make alone. I don't know how to start over, she whispered. You won't, I said softly, not alone. She pulled back just enough to look at me. Evan, she breathed. Kiss me. I did. This time, not out of fear, not out of tension, not because the world was collapsing, but because I loved her. I didn't know it fully yet, but I think she did. The kiss was slow, deep, steady, filled with every unspoken word we'd been drowning in for weeks. Her hands trembled against my jaw. My fingers held her waist like she might slip away. And for the first time since this began, she relaxed. Not because things were fixed, but because she finally let herself fall, right into me. She resigned the next morning. A clean letter, 2 sentences long, no drama. The office froze when the announcement hit inboxes. Some whispered, some looked guilty, some looked relieved. I felt rage and pride. She walked out with her head high, not giving anyone the satisfaction of seeing her break. I followed her out 10 minutes later. No speeches, no explanations, just a final glance at the place that had tried to destroy her. We stepped onto the sidewalk, cold wind biting, city noise crashing around us. She stood there staring at nothing, breathing in the freedom that tasted like fear. So, she said quietly, what now? I reached for her hand. She didn't pull away this time. Now, I said, we build something better. She squeezed my hand. Together, she whispered. Always, I said. And for the first time, she believed me. I'll keep this part shorter, more cinematic to maintain pacing. 1 year after the Boston trip, we didn't go back to the agency. She became a consultant, high-paying, flexible, respected for her mind, not her compliance. I joined a startup that valued creativity instead of politics. We moved into a loft in Brooklyn with exposed brick and bad pipes, but perfect morning light. Her laugh returned, her confidence rebuilt, her joy didn't hide anymore. And us? We were solid, stronger for every storm we'd survived. On the 1-year anniversary of her resignation, I took her back to Boston. The Harbor Cafe, the conference center steps, the bench where we almost kissed. And beside the water where everything changed, I knelt down and said, "Lena, you once told me you were scared to start over, but you did. We did. And I want to keep starting over with you forever." Her hand covered her mouth. Tears spilled instantly. "Yes," she whispered. "Of course, yes." I slipped the ring onto her shaking hand. She pulled me up and kissed me with the kind of certainty neither of us had back then. Boston didn't break us. It became the place we rebuilt.